Hi, everyone. Joe Yudin here from Touring Israel Luxury Private Tours. Still in the midst of the coronavirus, so I'm still trying to keep your interest. Today we have Galit Reisman. She's the owner of TLV Style, who does these very cool boutique fashion tours at Tel Aviv. Hello, Galit.
Hey, hi, Joe.
Great to see you. It's been a while.
Wow, same here. I missed the conversation, so thank you for the opportunity.
No problem. I think it's been a long time since we first met. When did you start your tours? What year
Oh
was
my
it?
God. Like informal, it was 2011, but I think since 2012 we are started to bond and really going aside each other and together.
Right.
So you were there from the beginning.
Yeah, I was.
So
I remember you tweeted
yeah.
something. Maybe it was an interview with you, I think, with a fashion
Wow.
magazine, and I called you and we got together and you told me what you did, and I was fascinated. And at the time it was just me, and I had like an office manager who answered the phones, and I told her to go on the trip with you just to
I
check it out
remember.
and make sure it was okay. And she came back with 4 full shopping bags. I'm like, oh, it must have been good. And she loved
Yeah,
it.
I
So
remember your trust from the first minute, and it's really a huge honor since then because it's like keep going with your amazing client from the States. So I really proud and
right. Well, then the next test I did with you was I did my daughter's bat mitzvah. You took her shopping in Tel Aviv and to meet designers and their children, who some of them are designers, and she had such a great time and I had such a great time. So that was something that really interested me.
but I have to remind you that before your little beautiful girl, I ran a tour for your wife and her
That's right.
friends.
That's right. One of their birthdays, every year they do something for their birthday.
Yeah,
And that year, my wife and her 2 best friends did the tour
yeah.
for you, and she also raved about it. And we just started using you, and everyone absolutely loves your tours. Why don't you tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about what you do?
So TLV Style, as you mentioned, it's a service, so I will say a platform that I established, as I said, 2012. And it was actually after 5 years that I was honored to represent and to work with the American clients while rapping and introducing them a collective of fashion accessories designers in the US. And if we will go back, I shifted my career in the age of 30 from the media field. And when I started the fashion and I started to find myself for 5 years flying frequently to New York and working in New York with these amazing leaders of buyers, two things happened to me. In one hand, I started to understand that I love to work with international audiences. I love to talk about my people and my country. But in the other hand, I started to feel kind of loneliness or sadness because I was sitting in Tel Aviv, excluded of the 35 trade shows that I was running. And in the age of 35, something really was burning inside me. And that was the time that I established TLV Style. I felt that I need to free my spirit higher. And it was an amazing period for me because suddenly I found that the three passion that I have for Tel Aviv and for international audiences and for my beautiful creative community will combine together to this platform. And since then, I really honored to lead private tours and families and Jewish federations into the behind the scene. It's important to say that the fashion tours, as not a lot of the people really get it in the first sight. It's not a shopping tour. You mentioned that all your beautiful ladies were buying, but this is not the main essence. If
Right.
before TLV Style, in my distributor phase in my life, I was selling products, I sign on my flag on TLV Style that I want to sell stories and I want to focus in the human spirit of the people because I'm I learned management and communication, but my passion is in anthropology and culture and psychologist side. So I'm really driven into the world of the designers and their process and their connection to Israel and the landscape of Israel, and really to bring to the first line the human spirit. And if we are talking about my tours, actually, it's really amazing because it's reflect the story of our society. If we will go back to the early days of the country, and it's interesting that we are talking now because we just celebrated the 72 years of Israel independence. In the beginning, the early days of Israel, there were in the 50s 2 female entrepreneurs, women working in this field. One was Miss Leah Gottlieb, the lady that founded Gotex. And the second lady, of course, Miss Ruth Dayan, that she's still alive and celebrating 104 this March, that founded Mesquite Fashion House. And both of them really were pioneering, bringing to Israel an amazing kind of fashion that represent the values and the folklores and the symbols of Israel, pour them into the designs. Since then, it's history. Again, we are not in a fashion talk now, but it was a lot of cycles. But what I love so much about the tours that I'm leading today, that I'm focusing in the emerging independent designers. Again, if in the past we had 2 female leaders, today we have booming of fashion entrepreneurs.
And if you let me interject for 1 second there, that's something that I found fascinating when I went on your tour with my daughter. It was just so interesting to me. You know, I have absolutely no interest in fashion whatsoever, and it was just so interesting to me to meet the designers and hear their stories and hear the history of how it came about, and then going into all these very cool, funky shops in South Tel Aviv and Old Jaffa, North Tel Aviv, and then down into their studios that are so colorful and just so happening. I really, as a middle-aged man, I really enjoyed your tour.
I'm really happy. I have to say that the core of my target market, of course, they are women. In any age. It can be even a tour of 3 generation ladies. However, when I have families that the men, the head of the family, are joining the tour, and I consist that they will. I love they're coming because I'm telling them, if you are not going to be satisfied, you always can live to the beach or to the pool. Right. But they amazed to, just as you said, to sit there and to be drawn into the world of inspiration. And I think what is so beautiful about the tours, that all of the people, except of the fun part of the creative and design and trying and shopping and everything, this is a byproduct of my tours, are really being exposed to the spirit. And I love to say that, again, Israel is most known for its innovation in the startup nation. They are going to the startup companies, and of course all the men and all the families doing this track. And when they're meeting the people in my tours, they're saying that this is totally an example or case study of mindset of innovation. So innovation exists in the mindset of the Jewish people and in our industry. And if I will return back to my tours, I love to share with my people, again, a lot about the lack of and the challenges that the young audiences are really facing here in Israel. And if we are talking about Israel as a company with lack of culture and lack of a fashion heritage, we do have kind of a genuine mix of styles and flavors and stories and cultures that brings over everything together and really inspired the people. And they showed us that in the tours.
Let me interject one more time. I'm finding that with all these people that I'm interviewing, and we're talking about many different topics. But the common thread that's running through all of these interviews is that Israelis have roots now, sometimes 2, 3, 4, even 5 generations already, but have roots from all over the world. And half of us Israelis have roots right here in the Middle East.
Totally.
So to see this blend of cultures that really is reflecting itself in food and in politics, but it's also reflecting in fashion, isn't it?
This is the essence of the tour. It's exactly what you said. It's the blend, it's the mixture. And when they are joining and they're coming on board and they're suddenly see this, like, even Ethiopian, Moroccanian, Israeli Tsabar with 5-generation roots, as you said, about who and how they're drawing their inspiration and how everything is interrupted and translate into the handwriting. It's a cultural document. I always, in the end of my tours, always, I love asking my people how you define Israeli fashion after the 3 up to 5 hours together. And it's amazing to find that there are none of my ladies I'm starting my 9th year of the business. None of my ladies said it's classic or it's bohemian. All of my people using words like, wow, the fashion is innovative, it's brave, it's edgy, it's communal, it's independent, it's really free spirit. And they are using words that they are a reflection of our society.
Yes.
And this is such an amazing process. And even I always keep laughing that in the beginning of the tours that we just started to work together, I used to go mostly to kind of stores, ateliers. Today, the picture that we are seeing now, this lady, she is located in Kibbutz Galuyot 45. It's like really industrial area, not a fashion district. You need a car to get there. But when you climb into the 4th floor and the door is open, like everybody waving and, oh my God, this is so neat. And this lady, Shahar Avnet, for example, she dressed Beyonce 5 times and only
Really?
2 years in the market.
Wow.
So when I'm bringing families, this lady, she's American young lady that the grandfather bought her the tour. He wanted to do like a fun day with her while he was visiting her because she's now in Israel. It was such an amazing day together. So it's about experiencing, it's about feeling, it's about educating, it's about being inspired. And again, we are always in the tours meeting the designers themselves. It's not going to a store and meeting a salesperson.
Right. And let me interject there again. You know, I've been on your tours many times as a father, as a husband, and as a tour guide as well. And what I've noticed and what we always tell people when Jono and I and Yogev are talking to people about what you do, we tell them there's no pressure to buy anything.
Not at all.
But if you do want to buy something, I know you can help them with the price.
I'm telling my designer, this is Alicia Abargel, one of the most talented designer. I will get to the values in the tour, but I want to say something again, as you said, and even if your audience will go to TripAdvisor, they will see all the feedback that everybody mentioning that there weren't a pressure to buy. But it's a challenging industry. I started to say that they are brave because they are facing lack of not only the thread of the fast fashion, and we will get it because of the corona crisis soon and the change that might cause to that industry, but lack of support from the government and lack of materials and lack of buying power and lack of craft people and lack of so many, the list is going on and on. So if international guest is coming here and can support so their wheels will continue to roll, it's amazing. It's benefits. So my heart is there. This is the essence to create bridges and to support also economic. I mean, when you are talking about the high values of and high mission of TLV style. But I want also to share with you that in any case, in any tour, if it's a short tour or a long tour or a presentation for federations, whatever, I always make sure that I have combined and varied stories that each will represent the value that I want to share with them, that they will go back home with a toolkit, or like they will learn something about globality, what it means to be Israeli working in Israel and trying to break into the global market. What are the really the core of it? They will learn something about textile, how Israel was a textile empire in the early days of the country, and how this industry not shut down, but not even minimized, shut down completely, and how
Mhm.
there are now, because of the lack of materials, manipulating fabric, creating new fabrics, using new textile, and improving in innovative and digital way their textile. What is sustainability all about? What is social impact? And the most important, I'm celebrating this big movement in the world called slow fashion. Do you know what is slow fashion, Joe?
I have no
So
idea.
slow fashion, of course, it's the opposite of fast fashion, as we all know it from the big fast company. But what
Okay.
defines slow fashion is designer working in small quantities, handmade, and handmade locally in their origin. But what is most important for me to share with my audience, that it's supporting the fair trade, that we luckily in Israel don't have child labor. So they are so feeling connected to the slow fashioners, designers in Israel. And it's emotional process. And I think this topic of sustainability and slow fashion and the way we consume fashion, again, even if my people, again, coming to the tours and they're not buying anything, but they are getting the kind of messaging that I want to transform them. And they're going back home and they will sit with their friends and they will talk about it and about Israel and about its braveness and beauty. They're ambassadors. You
Right.
know, it's like any field that you are dealing with. And nowadays, with the unfortunately corona crisis and listening to so many Zoom meetings about the fashion industry, and the day after, everybody are talking about the new phase of responsibility and sustainability, and how consumers, the strength will be in their hands. And I
Right.
think people, maybe for a while, I hope for a long time, but for a while, will shift their focus to locality,
Have
the
you
global.
have you ever thought about maybe it's just an idea that popped up into my mind, and I know we're in the middle of an interview, but I think it's a great idea, and you're probably already doing it. But maybe hosting uh, a couple of webinars or seminars or live Zoom meetings with maybe a client base, and take them virtually shopping
You
through
are
two Israeli studios and designers. Have you ever thought
You
about
are
doing?
touching the most sensitive and clever point in the face, because I will share with you that during the crisis, the pandemic caught me really, of course, unaccepted, like not prepared like you. It was the beginning of the year, and March was one of the best months that I was facing, and suddenly everything was canceled until the
I
end
hear
of
you,
June.
sister. We're in the same boat with that.
I know, but so in the first month, I was really uh, in a rational decision, decided not to think. To think, I shut it down
Right.
myself to anything and just focused in my nuclear family. I did nothing. I didn't open the computer. But then Passover arrived, and something about the spirit of the freedom of the spirit hit me. And I decided to open a group on Facebook, and that will lead me to your idea, because the group that I called TLV Style, Doing Good Together. It's about giving a hug and support the creative community. So I every day share an amazing post about one of the designer that I know during the years. And I also invite people to take the challenge to tag designers and to introduce themselves. So it's again the same idea of creating bridges and introduction. But I also through that I won this community and also my connection with the Jewish federations all over the state. I'm planning, when I will grow a little bit online, to invite all the audiences to Zoom meeting like I'm doing with Jewish Federation in Israel. Because when I'm hosting 70 women in Israel, of course, you can imagine that I cannot go to the behind the scene. I'm renting an amazing venue and I'm asking designers to come there. So I want to do the same online and to allow them to share their stories and inspiration, and maybe then the people will buy. But also when it will be very safe to be in the streets, to myself, I will go with a camera and I will do kind of studio visit, and then I will share it online. So it's totally in my plan.
Right. I think that's a great idea. And that's going to be big time in the future. And I don't think anyone knows the fashion scene here in Israel better than you do. So I think maybe this could be a great opportunity for you. So what does your shirt say there in Arabic? Shalom?
No, this is Chaim.
Chaim.
Chaim, life.
Life.
It's amazing. Liron, she is a lady living in Haifa, and her brand Aravrit. She found a way to combine two languages into one word. So, and how she cut the word, the Hebrew font and the English and the Arabic. Font creates the same meaningful. So please welcome all your audiences to visit Aravrit. It's Aravit and Ivrit. She also gave a TED talk, so even yourself and your family, you will blow away from her work. I will send you a link later.
Okay.
So there is really a lot of unbelievable stories. As you said, people, when they're coming to Israel and they have only 1 or 2 days in Tel Aviv, because usually they're staying more in Jerusalem and then they're like only jumping into the city. And if they will walk the street, they won't see the innovative fashion, because most of the fashion really located in the hidden gems. It's retail, I forgot the word, like circumstances and price point, etc. So designers are either in private ateliers and apartment, and I guess we will see more and more designers, because of the pandemic, leaving their studios and going back to their apartments. Even here, Danit Peleg, she started like one of the most innovative designers doing 3D wearable collections printed by 3D printers. Here we are in her home, how she started her career. So it's amazing. You really have a glimpse into the designer's life.
Yeah, you mentioned that people usually stay most of their trip in Jerusalem, and maybe they only have 1 or 2 days in Tel Aviv. And there used to be 10 years ago, people didn't even want to stay in Tel Aviv. They were like, "Oh, we're from Manhattan or we're from Boston. We know urban life. Tel Aviv's just a big city. We're going to go straight to." And we would have to convince them and hard sell them, stay 1 night in Tel Aviv, and then the next day maybe do a food tour and go to the Palmach Museum or Independence Hall, and then that would be their day in Tel Aviv. And then they'd see Tel Aviv, and on their second trip they would just come and stay in Tel Aviv the entire time. Now people have heard about Tel Aviv. It's been exposed in Condé Nast Traveler and Travel and Leisure magazine and Wendy Perrin's website, and people want to go to Tel Aviv now, especially the Europeans. They like to take these long weekend breaks in Tel Aviv. And when people can stay more than one night in Tel Aviv, that gives them an opportunity to do, a tour like yours, or a graffiti tour, or an art tour, or a more in-depth food tour, or a cooking workshop. And we really try to push Tel Aviv on people these days. It's just such a vibrant young city on the beach. I mean, you really can't.
I have to say that I so agree. Again, I'm a Tel Avivian freak and a Tel Avivian guru, and I think this is an amazing city that can show so many case study. But I will connect it to fashion. The Coco Chanel, the famous lady, used to say that fashion doesn't exist only in the dress. Fashion exists in the sky, in the birds, and in the people's stories and places. And when people visiting Tel Aviv after Jerusalem, like the holy city, and they're immersing themselves with the people and the streets, they really get to know the society. It's not about if you are coming from Manhattan or London. So of course, and I'm very, they are talking about that the future will be very transparency and very authentic. So I always kept that in my tours. And I'm saying that I love Tel Aviv from the bottom of my heart, but it's not the most beautiful city. It's the city that you need really to feel under your skin. So you have to take this kind of tours. You have to meet the people. You have to hear the stories. You have to be connected to them. Because if you walk in Jaffa and then on Dizengoff and then in the flea market, it's amazing. It's free city, and it's on the surface, and the weather usually is amazing, and it's easy and it's fun and it's free. But if you want to connect to the city, you need to zoom in. And this is the core of the tours that also my colleagues are running in any field. I think only then you can feel their heart.
And when we talk to people, our tourists, when we're planning their trip, I do anyway. I always tell them, look, Jerusalem is the history of the Jewish people. It's a living and breathing museum of ancient and Jewish history and modern religious Jewish history. But Tel Aviv is where the Jewish soul is today. If you want to experience the Jewish people and Israel and the Israeli people today, now, in today's moment and in the future, you got to experience Tel Aviv more than one night. Absolutely.
I have to say that even 2 years ago, I flew to St. Louis to give a talk, 20 minutes only talk to 150 women, amazing women from Line of Judah. And I chose to focus my 20 minutes presentation in the current situation in the fashion world. I didn't spend too much time about history, that even if there are like older audiences or young, like the Z gene joining the women, the mother tours, they all love to hear about today, about the modern life, about how is Israel today, not only to go to back. So the tours, TLV Style, it's not like historical tours. It's experimental. And because of that, it touches everybody. People want to experience. People want to have fun. So
I love mixing a day. I love doing a day in Tel Aviv near the, probably like even the last day of the tour, where I mix your tour, your style tour, with Sarah Penguin's art tour and Inbal Baum's food tour, and if there's time, maybe a graffiti tour. And I think that's just such a great way to end your trip to Israel, with this cultural today, this is Israel moment. Anyway, Galit Reisman, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure.
I can continue more and more. It was a huge pleasure. Thank you, Joe, for the opportunity.
We'll do it again, and we'll talk about, different aspects, and down the line.
Always here. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And people, check out TLV Style and check out Galit's Facebook page. And of course,
Style, doing good together.
Doing good together. TLV Style, doing good together. And of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel. please shout out to Jonathan Rose pulling the strings behind the scenes, our Condé Nast Traveler Israel Specialist for 2020, and Wendy Perrin Israel Specialist for 2020. Hello, Jono, and we will see you again soon.
Thank you. Have a beautiful day.
You too, Galit.
Bye.